Let's get some analysis now. I'm joined live from Washington by Professor Stephen Hamilton from George Washington University. We'll get to some broader outlooks on the global economy in a moment. I want to ask you, though, first of all, on your read when it comes to those prices, those caps that we've been reporting this afternoon. $125 a tonne for the coal price, $13 per gigajoule on gas. What's your take on that?
Yeah, look, we need more detail, Kieran, obviously, but I think the shadow treasurer is absolutely correct to point to the concerns around unintended consequences. So we have to understand that there are no magical solutions, right, to these high prices. These high prices are high because there's a limited supply and there's a lot of people who want them. So if you want to cap the price, that means you're giving up on a massive amount of national income. And that's going to harm us all in various different ways. So what I'd really like to see from the government is a very clear kind of explanation as to exactly what the consequences of this will be, what it will cost the taxpayer, what it will cost the country in lost revenue, and what it'll cost mining investment going forward, in the sense that this will absolutely create more uncertainty. So I think there's a lot of questions to answer. And I'm really worried that we think we can just kind of wave a magic wand and make our inflationary troubles go away.
Given the warnings, though, from manufacturing and so on, of manufacturers basically falling over due to these prices, doesn't it make sense to try and have at least a stopgap measure to get them through until these prices normalise?
Yeah, so it's not binary, right? I mean, there's a sense about exactly how much support we should provide and in exactly what form we should provide that support. So I think like one weird thing that I keep hearing from the Treasurer is that, we can't provide rebates. If we do it with a price control, somehow that won't be inflationary. But that's just nonsense, right? Support is support. If you're limiting the price impact, you're providing stimulus. If you're giving a rebate, you're providing stimulus. So I don't really want political arguments. I want economic arguments as to exactly what is the best way to provide this support with minimum economic cost. And I haven't seen any of that explanation from anyone in the government.
Today's GDP numbers are slowing in the growth from last quarter. From what you've read of that GDP data, does it show that the rate rises are already biting, even though this is through the rear-view mirror looking back to the September quarter?
Look, Kieran, I mean, it was slightly below expectations, but to be honest, it was kind of bang on. I don't really see any impact of rate rises flowing through, and we've been raising rates for many, many months. As you said before, the saving rate, right, how much of pay packets get saved every week, is only just getting back to pre-pandemic levels. So that means we haven't eaten into the big buffer of saving we built up before the pandemic. We've just stopped adding to it. So that kind of suggests to me that consumer demand will probably be pretty robust going forward. And overall, households will be able to absorb these very rapid increases in interest rates without curbing spending too much. And I think the December quarter, right, with Christmas, could be absolutely gangbusters. So I'm frankly, from these numbers, a little bit concerned that maybe the economy is running too hot and that interest rates are going to have to go higher for longer in order to contain it in 2023.
You've described the RBA under Governor Lowe as not so much risk averse as action averse. Are they on the right track now off the back of yesterday's meeting?
Look, the interest rates need to rise, and nobody could complain that the Reserve Bank's doing the wrong thing in doing that, right? We have inflation at 30-year highs. Core inflation is up where it is in the US and the UK. Our unemployment is lower than in those countries. We've now got wage growth pushing up, which could increase the kind of inflationary impulse. So, looking at that, interest rates have to go up. If anything, they started too late. And even in starting late, remember that first increase was only 0.25. And I said at the time, they needed to step it up to 0.5, or as the US has done, even 0.75. I was critical of them tapping the brakes a little, pulling the foot off the brake a little too early, moving from 0.5 increases down to 0.25 increases a couple of months ago. And again, with these national accounts, I'm not exactly convinced that 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 was the right decision. It could mean that the terminal interest rate that we end up at is higher than it otherwise would have been. Maybe it would have been better to bring forward some of that increase. And the other thing to keep in mind is our Reserve Bank interest rate is now almost a full percentage point below rates in the US, with core inflation around the same level. That says to me, maybe we've got a long way to go.
Professor Stephen Hamilton from George Washington University, great to get your insights as always. Thanks.
Cheers, Kieran.
Coming up next, South Australians on flood watch, preparing for an overflow